It's a trip up north tonight for the Foxes, who travel to second place Middlesbrough in the Championship, hoping to build on that draw at the weekend in Gary Rowett's first game in charge. Assignment number 2 kicks off at the Riverside Stadium at 7:45. Welcome along to Matchday Live here in the studio with me, Dan Bates. Iwan Roberts and Matt Elliott are our guests. We've got Jerry Taggart on co-commentary up in Middlesbrough this evening. We'll hear from him in just under half an hour's time as we build up to kick off in this massive game. Iwan, it's great to have you here. The last time you were here, however, was Southampton at home. The less said about that, the better. Hopefully we see something better tonight, but it's always good to have you here, and I'm sure you looked and saw that it was Matt Elliott next to you, and
it's the first thing I always
happy.
do. Thing I always do. Who am I sat on the sofa with? Is it going to be big enough for the two of us? And there's plenty of room.
You read the script. You know, it was a Northern game, didn't you? You knew I'd be here.
Looking back at that Southampton game, I mean, that first half, it was so good. To score, the 3 goals were superb. The football that was played was outstanding. It's just obviously what happened in the second half happened, and I understand lost down in Southampton in the cup. I thought it was a positive reaction at Stoke. Should have won the game. But I'm really looking forward to this one. Middlesbrough are a very, very good side.
Good evening as well, Matthew.
Evening, Bates.
Good to see you as ever.
There's genuine glee on your face when you see you, and not so when I come
sees
through
you on
that
the
door.
telly.
Yeah. His shoulders, they drop and they droop, and I get used to it. But anyway, no offence taken. But yeah, big game tonight, isn't it? I think Middlesbrough. I was fortunate enough to see a section of their game against Coventry not so long ago. They lost the game. They were quite impressive, which is not really what Leicester supporters want to hear. I think they look a decent outfit, but it's going to be a big challenge. But that was encouraging, that second half, wasn't it? Again, there was a contrast between first half and second half, as there has been in many ways, in many games throughout the season as well, but in a positive fashion at the weekend.
Yes, we will hear from Gary Rowett. We will, of course, look back at that game with Stoke. We'll have team news in just a moment for you. Before that, though, a final word on Middlesbrough before we move on. And, you know, you were saying they're a good side. They were good against Coventry. They did lose that one. You're not second at this stage of the season without being good, Iwan.
No,
so it will be a tough test tonight.
And I think they've got better since Kim Hellberg's taken over. You know, Rob Edwards went there at the start of the season. They got off to a fantastic start. He was sort of drawn to go to his boyhood club in Wolverhampton. There was a lot said about that, and he's been on a lot of people's radar as Hellberg. I think he's won 10 of his 17 games since. But what he's done, they're more free flowing, they're more attacking, they score more goals. I think Middlesbrough under Rob Edwards were sort of hard to beat, hard to score against, kept clean sheets, didn't score as many goals, but they are a very, very good side to watch going forward. Hopefully they won't be tonight. No,
absolutely. Right, let's get all of Leicester City's team news. Those of you may have seen behind us, Caleb Okoli, he starts at the heart of central defence for the Foxes, alongside Ben Nelson, as we've seen in the past few games. There are, however, 2 changes from the side that played at the weekend against Stoke. Naturally coming out is Victor Christiansen. He picked up an injury in that draw in the Potteries. Jeremy Monga returns to the bench as well. In comes Luke Thomas at left back, and there's a return as well for Bobby De Cordova-Reid, who served his 3-game suspension for that sending off against Birmingham. So they're the changes then, Matt. So Bobby De Cordova-Reid back in. Obviously, it's not an injury, so you don't worry about how someone might settle back in. It was a suspension. You imagine he'll be at the peak of his fitness and where he needs to be. Are you surprised? Are you not surprised to see him return straight away?
Well, yeah, I think it's probably like a mini dilemma for Gary Rowett, wasn't it? To have Mukasa there and De Cordova-Reid, both probably most comfortable in that number 10 role. But what a punishment that was as well for that challenge as well, isn't it? 3 games. I know that's a different.
Are you surprised
matter. What
in this day and age?
Well, but no. But in my mind, I'm still coming to terms with what a sending off is and isn't. But
so you're just going to say with modern day football then? Matt?
Well, yeah, that's the usual terminology, isn't it? But wouldn't fall into that trap. But no, but 3 games just seems harsh, doesn't it, for that sort of challenge? Anyway, it is what it is. He'll be champion at the bit, won't he? Yeah. I mean, hopefully, and listen, Decordova Readers hasn't had such a sustained career at a very good level for no reason. Like he applies himself well, and he'll be hopefully an example to the others as well to look up to.
Particularly him, similar position.
Yeah, he'll be helpful for Mukasa there. But listen, Mukasa's a good enough player to look after himself, really, from what I've seen. Decordova can learn a few things off him, in fact. But listen, he was an outstanding performer. Before the game, I looked at the lineup on Saturday against Stoke and thought, Mukasa's probably the one who hopefully can provide something. Might have been putting too much on him, maybe. He's coming in on loan, young player. He doesn't mind taking that responsibility on his shoulders, and he was superb in the second half. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Yeah,
as was that man, Ewan. We can see the goals in a moment, but just while we can see Harry Winks there warming up at Riverside, he scored a fantastic goal. He really got things ticking in that second half.
And do you know what I enjoyed about his goal? His celebration after it. You know, there's a lot been said about Harry Winks over the last few months. He enjoyed that goal. He went and celebrated with the Leicester City fans. I thought his first half performance against Southampton in the league game here at the King Power was outstanding. There were some great performances in that opening 45 minutes, but everything went through Harry Winks. He is a top performer, especially at this level. And that's why I think this club has got too much quality to be in the position that they are. But we are where we are. But when you've got the likes of Harry Winks firing on all cylinders, you know, young Mukasa, who's been absolutely fantastic in the 2 games that I've seen, it's just need a big performance tonight, you know. And the big thing for me is who plays in that number 10 role. Do you play Decordova Reid there and push Mukasa to the right hand side? I wouldn't. In that would be my personal choice. I would keep Mukasa where he is because he's been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, I think Decordova Reid's probably better equipped, maybe to be flexible, etc. But what a goal, Harry Winks, by the way. Like a strike from that distance at any time, you know, any occasion is
especially that slowly, man.
He looks
impressive. But he's past it.
He looks like he's at it. Do you know what I mean?
But he's great connection. He's past that, fizzed it with pace, but passed it into the bottom left-hand corner as he was looking at it, and just what the doctor ordered as well. And yeah, if you get a revitalised Harry Winks back in the fray, then that's a huge plus.
Yeah, I guess it is just getting things ticking, isn't it, Ewan? That's what he's best at.
But when you want to play possession-based football, when you want to have more possession than the opposition, you need 2 midfielders that are comfortable, who always want the ball, will always show for the ball, will never hide. And I think that's what the 2 boys that Leicester have in Skip, and especially in Harry Winks. You know, he'll get you out of trouble. He'll give people an option when they're under pressure, instead of sort of maybe going route one and going from back to front quickly. He'll always be available in midfield. Everything goes through him, and I think when he plays well in that midfield area for Leicester, I think Leicester sort of 9 times out of 10 play well.
He can pick a pass as well. Yeah. It's not just about retaining possession and switching play and shoring things up and ticking over, as you say. He's got more than that about him. You know, he can play forward into tight areas, pick a pass, an occasional goal threat, as we've seen.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic strike, wasn't it? We know he's got that. Divine Mukasa, okay, slightly fortuitous, maybe the goal, a cross-come shot. But let's just talk about his general play, and you were very impressed with him when you saw him in the flesh. When we first all saw him in the flesh against Southampton, and he's carried on that form.
He sort of just, what's the best way to describe it? He sort of cruises along. He glides. That's the best way to. He glides across the pitch, and that's always a good sign of an intelligent footballer. Comfortable on the ball, 2 good feet, and you say a fortuitous goal against Stoke. You put good quality in dangerous areas, and that's what happens. He's put it in that. I call it the corridor of uncertainty. Goalkeeper can't come. Defenders hate to drop back into that 6-yard box just in case they get the final touch. You put the one thing that does surprise me, I'm a centre forward. I'm putting that in at the back post. Do you know what I mean? I'm
launching yourself.
I'm launching myself at that one.
Yeah.
But he's put a great ball in. He's felt it with his left foot, put it in a dangerous area. Keeper's been caught off balance. Different to the goal that he scored here against Southampton, where he had a really good first touch and put his laces through the ball. 2 goals in two starts now for him in the league. Hopefully he can make it 3-3 tonight.
Yeah, this one against Southampton was really well taken, Matt, wasn't it?
Oh, it's top quality, really. I mean, someone is just making his debut for the club, and little touch bang, wasn't it? And it was the sharpness of the touch, and then the strike has caught the goalkeeper unawares. I thought at the time maybe he could have done a little bit better, but he couldn't get down quick enough. But yeah, listen, it's very early to say, but the range of abilities and attributes that he's been displaying, suggests that there's a very good player that Leicester have.
He's at Man City for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the thing.
We know the machine of Man City. They churn out these players, don't they? And they go in different directions, and where they find themselves ending up is another matter. But it seems like he's one of those players that enjoy him while we can.
Let's hear from the Leicester City manager then, Gary Rowett. It was his first game, of course, in charge against Stoke at the weekend, so nearly getting all 3 points. We can look at a few of those chances in just a moment. After the game, though, he spoke to our commentator, John Dunn, said he was proud of the performance his side put in.
Absolutely. I think if we carry on playing like we did second half, it will turn. And you could see the players at the end, the lads are devastated, they haven't won the game. And yes, you want them to feel that, but you also want them to feel, actually, we've done a lot of things quite well and certainly a lot better. And like you say, we've hit the woodwork twice, but we've also had Steffi's had a really, really good opportunity. Joe Aribo has a really good opportunity when he arrives. And I think Luke's is probably the best of them all. And I'm sure when he watches it back, he'd be disappointed that he hasn't scored that with a free header. So, but yeah, a lot of things to like. The things that I know we've got to work on probably came out in this game anyway, so it's not really a surprise. And I think until we get 3, 4, 5 players back to give us those options squad-wise off the bench in different games, it's very hard to change that in certain ways. So, certainly take the positives out of it. There was a lot to like about the second half.
That was Gary Rowett there, obviously impressed with his side's second half performance. A man you're smiling, a man you know quite well, obviously from your time here, Matt. Yeah. And do you see? You can see where he's coming from in terms of how happy he was with his side, but he must have been so annoyed, so frustrated that Stoke were able to score late on.
Well, no, he's a realist, Gary, isn't it? And I think everything he said there was commonsensical, really, and also. I was just sort of smiling at his manner there. He's quite energetic. He's really enthusiastic, isn't he? And an infectious character. And I think the players will feed off that. He's a pretty honest fella as well. He's speaking there. Yes, he's talking about the positives, which he wants to put across to everybody concerned, but also honest enough to say, look, where the deficiencies are. And I thought it was all pretty commonsensical, like I say, what he said there. And as a player, you could believe what he's saying. He's not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes or pretend something isn't what it is. And I'm sure he's got the respect straight away from the players there. And I think you saw that to some degree after they settled after you have to say it was an abject performance, to be fair, the first 45 minutes, wasn't it? It was probably as big a contrast as we've seen, and I'm probably including that Southampton game in that. But
he'd only had, a couple of training sessions with the boys, to be fair?
Yeah,
so I think you've got to put everything into context.
I think, listen, he said himself, I ain't got a magic wand. He's got to change everything in one day. He can put across, he can try and address their mentality, probably, as much as anything, and a few tweaks defensively, we get more solid. But just get, like he said afterwards, didn't he, Leicester are better with the ball than without the ball. So let's try and take it forward in that manner.
I look at the job that he did at Derby. People go on about Frank Lampard's Derby County and one thing or another. The season before, under Gary Rowett, they won more points, scored more goals, and conceded less goals than Frank Lampard. So he had a better season in charge of Derby than Frank Lampard. he was at Millwall for 4 seasons. That's not an easy job to do, sort of thing. So
maintaining their status, isn't it?
And finished 8th twice. He went to Oxford to keep him in the Championship last season. Did exactly what he needed to do. There's a reason why Gary's. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves as a manager.
Squad, Oxford,
Absolutely. He's an organiser. One thing that this team does need is organisation defensively, and I think we all know that. I think, yes, conceded 2 avoidable goals on Saturday, but limited time to work on certain things on the training pitch. This team will get better defensively in the next 13 games under Gary Rowett.
Yeah, fingers crossed we see that this evening. They're coming up against a side that have scored 50 goals in the Championship this season. They've also got the meanest defence at Middlesbrough at the side in second place. So Leicester have their work cut out going forward as well. We are, just under 15 minutes away from kickoff. You can follow all the action as ever with us on Fox's Hub, whether you watch the game with us or listen. Plenty available for you there. All you need to do is head on to Fox's Hub and that'll tell you what is available to you. There are now international monthly passes available Game Pass wise. Basically anyone outside of the UK and British Isles can watch the game with us this evening. So just head on to the website to secure your Game Passes. It was so nearly 3 points, Matt. And I'm not just talking about being 2-1 up with 5 minutes to go. I'm talking from the 90th minute onwards, there were 3 massive moments. I'm not going to say massive chances for all 3. The Nelson one, he's done well to just head it towards goal. But 3 moments that, they were so close. They hit the woodwork twice. Joe Aribo forced a good save out of the goalkeeper. But you sometimes think, after 90 minutes, let's have 1 chance, let alone 3 like that.
Yeah, frustrating, and you saw that in the players' reactions. Again, manager mentioned it, but if you want to put a positive look on that, whilst it was disappointing they didn't finish the game off, but they've conceded and they've gone again. Like, that shows that there's spirit in the team, because otherwise they could have felt very sorry for themselves, couldn't they? Said, like, whatever we try doesn't come off. We've given as good as we can the second half, and we've still got deficiencies and frailties defensively that are costing us. But they kept going, and here we see the whole volley of situations. Surely one of them's got to creep in, but it's going to take some resolve in this situation. It gets a better chance every time you see that.
You've got Mukassa's volley with his left foot that sort of scratches the keeper's right hand post. You've got Mukassa putting the ball through the defender's legs for Mavididi. Angle's not great for him, but Mavididi of 2 years ago puts that one in the back of the net. The Joe Aribo one, it's a good save, but for me, the goalkeeper shouldn't have been allowed to save it. He's hit it straight at him, and he should be scoring. And as Gary said there, they're probably the best of the lot to Luke Thomas, and how he would have loved to have scored the winning goal in front of those Leicester City supporters. Ben Nelson, he's just got his head onto that ball there. He sort of directed it goalwards, hoping that he'll cause a problem. Unlucky, but that's the one. That is the one. I actually thought the goalkeeper had just made himself big and
quiet. What happened there? I think he thought he was defending Luke, maybe.
I think he heads it down too much. I
feel like, is it slightly harsh on Luke Thomas? He's the left back. He's ended up in a right wing / right striker position.
No, I'm not going to totally castigate him. He'll be as annoyed as anyone, Luke, wouldn't he? But
it meant so much for him to score that winning goal.
Yeah.
More often, you got to be scoring from there, regardless of who it is. But listen, you don't lay blame anywhere.
He couldn't believe it, could he?
No. Neither can we, watching that, to be honest. But listen, got a chance to make amends for it. Overall, not a bad point, but you look at the results of other teams. Blackburn nicked a win, didn't they? Portsmouth before. We're talking about Middlesbrough, how good a side they are. Oxford will manage to come up
and keep a clean sheet
here and keep a clean
sheet.
So that's again something for Leicester
to concede that Stoke second goal on 89 minutes, and you go back to the Southampton game and the disappointment we felt then. To respond like they did and create those 3 chances, you've got to give the lads massive credit for that.
That's a really good point. I think Gary Rowett said that himself, Ewan. Basically, and Leicester fans may have been, had every right to think, once they score at that point, there's only going to be one winner there. But actually, it was the complete other way, wasn't it? It was Leicester looked the most likely.
You know, we've both been through it. You think, oh, here we go again. We're in this position. We've taken the lead through a great goal. We've conceded a goal on 89 minutes, as we did the other day or the other night at home. Here, you know, same old story. But to respond and to react in such a positive way and create the chances, and should have won the game maybe 4 or 5-2.
Well, that frustration at conceding, you know, shows that there's still spirit there. It doesn't always come to the fore. It always doesn't seem apparent, but I think underlyingly there is, and hopefully they'll continue to show that going forward. Yeah,
I think you saw fight, and Jerry sort of was a better person to explain it than us because he was at the Bet365. But he said at full time when the lads went across to the fans, there was a really good reception because they saw a dogged second half display. They saw what we've been crying out for, maybe.
Yeah, there was nervousness in the first half, wasn't there? And that performance, I think, because they looked like sort of energy had been sapped out of them, really, and they were a bit all over the place defensively. And just generally, they couldn't get up to pace with the game. But Gary Rowett, you know, has obviously spoken to them. But they must have determined it a little bit themselves. It's like, we need to sort of shed this weight that we're carrying here because we need to sort of unleash and express ourselves. And they managed to do that. And the manager is a contributory factor to that, I would say. He mentioned about the emphasis of he's realising that Leicester are better when they're you know, looking to be proactive. When they're in possession of the ball, they're not the best collectively as a defensive side, although they do need to work on that because it did cost them, but it almost cost them very dear at the weekend in a game they should have won ultimately. But loose defending, just little bits of communication switched on. We talked about that discipline and that communication with each other. But for the entirety of the game, to switch off here and there, with Leicester at the moment, things are going to cost them, even if they only switch off once in the game.
Yeah,
it will come and hurt them. But if they can tighten up on that, then who knows?
Yeah. Final say, Ewan, relatively quickly before we hand over to John and Jerry, that Leicester, they can take something from that second half against Stoke, can't they? And let's see a good performance tonight.
I tell you what, take the first half from Southampton, take the second half from Stoke, combine it together,
if it was that
and go and play like that at the Riverside.
Yeah, I love it. That's the team talk right there from Iwan Roberts. Thank you to you and thank you to Matt. Let's hand over now to our commentary team. Jerry Taggart is alongside John Dunn. As I said, anyone outside of the UK, you can watch the action with us on Fox's Hub. All you need to do is head on and it costs just £10 to watch the game. Here's an explainer of how you can get that and what you need to do now.
If you are watching on lcfc.com, just sit back and relax. If you are watching on social media, the live stream will finish shortly. If you want to continue enjoying our coverage, you'll need to head over to lcfc.com/Foxes Hub and purchase one of our game passes. If you are watching in a territory where the game isn't live on TV, you'll be able to watch a live video stream on Foxes Hub. Please visit lcfc.com/territory